Would you guys rather have somebody who's dismissive?
Well, I wouldn't know. I would be dismissed.
I mean, that's a fair point, but like in general, like, would you rather have women be more dismissive or dating more guys?
It's a bias, because if she's dating me, then yeah, I would want her to be dismissive. But if I'm the one, if I want to be seen by her, then I would want her to give me a chance.
Yeah, but so how do I say it? It's like, would you rather the scenario where a girl looks at your profile and she's dismissive and she's like, oh no, or she gives you a chance and then, you know, maybe you guys really hit it off, and like she said, that guy that you were actually interested in, like, you never thought that you'd be interested in him. So, you know, maybe it's the same way. Maybe she's like really into you and she just never would have thought based on your profile.
Well, I mean, again, that's a bias, because if it's me, we talking about me, then yeah, I'm pretty sure I can charm any woman. But if it's somebody else, I might be more self-aware to know that this woman's not gonna like me. But like, there are a lot of guys who understanding just how selective women are. Women are extremely selective. Y'all all know y'all are extremely selective. So women dismiss men. Women have a million turnoffs. So once one of those,
the offender donated $99. The reason most men don't like when a woman has multiple dates lined up is that if Brian, for example, is the 14th dude in line, he would have to wait for the date, and it's not a guarantee that the woman likes him. It's a waste of time and money for men.
So you'd rather have dismissive?
I'd rather just, like, if a girl told me, by the way, Brian, I just had 5 dates this week. I've got 5. I was on a date with a girl who was totally unremarkable. Not like, and she told me, she just downloaded Hinge. She'd already been on 3 dates. She had 2 dates planned for the weekend, and I just lost all interest. I mean, I appreciate her telling me, but I'm like, they can have you. That's my thought process. Look, I get it.
But they don't have you. Like, it's just a date.
Right, but if you're talking to that other dude's, like, for me, like, I just don't want to deal with that.
It's the principle.
Like, I don't want to. Okay.
So what's the principle?
Your attention is divided. You're not, like, if you were. I know you said you're not sleeping with all these guys, but it's kind of like the same principle as when it comes to body count. If you're fucking 5 other dudes and you're trying to sleep with me, it's like, fuck no, I don't even want to have sex with you. I don't want anything from you.
And I respect that. I think that's perfect.
But it's almost the same thing. With body count, your sexual attention is divided. With going on this many dates, your romantic attention is divided. I don't just want your sexual attention. I want your romantic attention. I want your emotional attention. And if you're talking to 14 other guys, to me, to some degree, it's for example, I would think if I went on a date with a girl and she found out that I went on a date with 2 other girls that night, I would see how she might feel a little off by that. She might feel a little. She wouldn't disrespected.
So here's another question, though. Don't you think that a lot of women would actually, to be honest, be kind of attracted to that because you're a guy who's in demand?
Well, that's a fair point. There is a differential there between men and women, because I think women typically are. How do I articulate this? Q, you got something for this? I have a thought on this, but I feel like you might.
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. So if you could describe it.
Well, she's saying, well, for me, for example, it would be it would certainly be a turn off if a girl was sleeping with other men or dating other men. Mm-hmm. But some women might view a guy who's getting with other women as more desirable because women like pre-selection.
Because it signals to other women that this guy has things that women desire. And if you don't feel special at the end of the day, if you and I were to go on a date and I went on 2-3 dates prior and you felt some type of way, I could easily talk my way out of that. I could easily explain to you, you're different. I see you different. I'm a guy. I have less options. I have less opportunities. So I have to take advantage of my opportunities. You're more selective. You can afford to dismiss guys. You can afford to tell guys, I don't really, you can afford to do that. Me, you can understand. He's just being a guy. And at the end of the day, women are still wired to know men are just being men. So, we can compartmentalize, we can compartmentalize sex and emotion. We can compartmentalize, liking a woman but not wanting to be with her. So all of these things still leave the door open for you to understand that you have a shot. Whereas with guys, what Brian is saying is he's much more serious about the way he approaches dating. So because he's much more serious about the way he approaches dating, when he sees a woman that does things like go on multiple dates, he don't know if he can take her seriously, because that by default is showing that her strategy for dating is basically bullshitting. That's what he's saying.
Yes. That's awesome.
Pretty much what.
Ryan, that's a good point, but that's why I feel like you don't tell somebody on a first date that you've just gone on 13 other dates with guys until you're in a serious relationship, and then maybe if it comes up, you're like, oh, by the way,
that's a
when
breakup. That's a breakup. Yeah. Goodbye.
I don't know. I feel like that.
Like I feel like he was
flattered.
If you've been dating for like 2 years,
yep.
I mean, if it was before
Kicking
you,
or
if they ask you, anyway. But no, I see your point now. I mean, if I knew that a guy, if I was like his third date that day, it would be a turn off. But if we had been dating for like 2 years, whatever, we're serious, and he goes, oh, by the way, I was on this dating app, I was seeing a bunch of girls, but I picked you, I would feel like flattered. I'd be like,
exactly,
like, right? Like,
well, also one thing that I'd like to clarify. One thing
I feel special.
Yeah, sorry to cut you off. One thing I would like to clarify is, I get as far as the romantic attention. I agree with that. But if you're just matching with someone and you set a date right then and there, you have not romantically invested anything in me.
Exactly.
I haven't romantically invested anything in you. When we meet in person is going to be the first time we actually both invest time, and I think that's a fair piece. I think it's personally, I think it's the whole texting back and forth, seeing what they're going to say, waiting the 3 hours or whatever, because I see some people, they're like, I don't want to seem too available or too needy. It takes a lot of time.
It's a waste
But
of
if you're
time.
like, hey, we matched. I think you're cute. I like something about your profile. I verbalized that. Are you free tomorrow at 4 for coffee? I feel like that's a fair investment. Neither of you have done it.
The last thing I want to add to that is that it's really hard to get to know someone on a dating app unless you see them in person. So
I'm not opposed
like being
to meeting in person. I'm not. My argument is.
So what if a girl was meeting?
It's the frequency with which you are meeting.
What if it wasn't
men.
A date?
Huh?
What if you didn't call it a date?
No, I don't think you're. I think you're failing to.
Also,
I don't have an issue. Like I don't object. It's not like you have to. I actually agree that you should not spend weeks on end being a pen pal with someone. I think you should meet up fairly quickly. What I object to is how many dates you were going on. First off, I don't know how you have the fucking time to do that.
I don't sleep.
So
I do it all throughout the day. Or like.
Were you unemployed?
No, I would do it on my lunch breaks. On my lunch breaks, I would, it could be a 15-minute date. It doesn't have to be 3 hours.
You're not
or
wasting
whatever.
time.
Some days it was like,
we both gotta eat, right? Like,
why 50?
I don't know. I just came up with a number. I'm an extremist, so I was like, might as well. Well, because here's the thing too. If you actually have to, I'm sure it came from the movie, to be honest. The 50 first dates. Like, I think
50. Wait, he kept having the same date with the same woman.
No, I haven't seen the movie. I just heard the number.
No, she had like amnesia. I'm pretty sure.
I haven't seen it. So
Adam Sandler, right?
The numbers.
She had amnesia.
She had short-term memory loss.
She had some amnesia or some shit. So he went on 50 dates with the same chick. Hello?
I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know.
I
think that's where the inspiration came from. I think that's where it came from.
That's like the hoe version of that movie. Okay.
I see your point. I'm just saying, like, it's very easy to be dismissive, see something on someone's profile and think like, oh, I'm not going to waste my time with them, versus if you meet in person, then, you can't really get to know someone online just based on their profile. So if you give them a chance.
That's not what I'm arguing.
What are we supposed to do? Like, be like super picky or dismissive or whatever? Like, if you get matched with, like, I don't know, 100 guys in a day, then, and you're sitting there like super dismissive, like, no, not this one, then like, no one gets any chance, but she's just open. I would say
be even more selective then. Only go on the dates.
I mean, I personally, like, I'm very like picky on dating. I'm very picky on dating apps.
20 dates in 3
like,
weeks.
I understand what she's like. No, I'm very picky. I understand what she's saying, and I think like, oh, that's good. Like, you're being open. Like me, I'm super picky. So if I see like one thing in your profile that's off to me, like, it doesn't even have to be like a red flag. I'm just like, I don't like that.
Exactly.
Because I don't want, personally, I don't want to waste my time if I don't think that it's going to lead anywhere. But like she was saying, like, you never know, because you might meet somebody and you might think like, oh, I never thought it. I mean, that was me with my ex. Like, he was not my type at all. I never thought I would have like dated someone like that, and
that's cool. Look, ultimately, I'm just saying, for me personally, maybe there's a bunch of men out there, they wouldn't mind if they were date number 22 in your game that you're playing, but I would not
That's
appreciate
fair.
my someone I'm going on a date with having, look, you don't owe me anything, right? If you want to go on 3 dates yesterday and the day before and sleep with a bunch of men, that's fine. That's your call. I'm not, and I know you weren't doing that. But I'm also free to have a standard, a preference, and a boundary of not wanting to date a woman who is moving and operating in that way. Some men might not care. Some men might even be like, ooh, competition. Okay, I want to be the winner. Cool. That's fine. Me personally, I'm just going to opt out. I don't want to date. I don't want to be involved with a woman who's gamifying like that and who's dating that many men.
Yeah, I mean, you was essentially playing the Bachelorette, in a sense. And honestly, I was offered to be on the Bachelorette. I would never.
Which
no.
season?
It was 2 years ago, so I would never.
That dynamic is just like, okay, it's.
So-
I don't want that dynamic.
So here's the question, because if you haven't met these people, let's say that you're trying to find someone, you're trying to date, you're trying to find a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
What is an acceptable amount to you? Because again, if you go
I
on
don't
a
think
first,
you're gonna like my answer to this. But
you want to date one guy at a time, like, and
well, I don't think it's that hard to date one person at a time. But I mean, well, my joke answer would
But to
be
meet them.
My joke answer should be before she even became aware of my presence on this earthly plane, she has to have committed herself to me. No, I'm being a bit
she
facetious.
watches
We
the
all say
podcast
that.
and
But-
she's like, one day. one
But
day.
she has to have been celibate for 2 years before she even knew me. Basically, that's my joke answer. But no, I think be properly single when you're dating.
What
So
what does
how- what does
properly
that mean?
single mean?
Don't be currently fucking anybody, and don't be.
But she's not.
No,
She wasn't.
I wasn't
in her
doing any of
scenario.
that. It's a first date.
no
so.
penis in and around the mouth either.
Yeah,
Agreed.
none of that.
I
Yeah.
didn't do any of that.
That's cool. Also, just don't be dating like 14 guys in like the past 14 days. That's
But
also
so is
probably, like,
but is it acceptable if a girl goes on a date once a week?
I was gonna say, what if
Like,
what
what's-
if someone
what's
had
the
a date
number?
with you?
Yeah.
It's
What
a
if she scheduled
scale.
the dates
It's-
on the day
It's a
of?
spectrum. It is a spectrum, okay? So it's a spectrum. Like one date a week. Yeah, I don't know. It's still a little. I'm raising an eyebrow there. Is it a total deal breaker? Maybe, maybe not. Would it be preferable if it was once a month? Yeah, it'd be preferable. Would it be preferable if it was once a quarter? Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4? Yeah, you know.